Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be blocking out the neck and adding some really cool modifiers. So let's go ahead and get started. So far, we've got a pretty good look, but what we need to do now is kind of rotate this and make the neck go down the roll here. So let's go to side view and let's take our head here and kind of rotate it until you get kind of a 45-degree angle with the nose and the ear right there. So, right in here and right in here. And we'll just hit G and just kind of move that up. So we want the mouth somewhere in here. If we go into see-through mode, we've got to let this roll kind of fit in the head here. So, you can't have it right there. We've got to have it somewhere in this space. That looks pretty good. And so now what we need to do is kind of extend the neck to cover the rest of this. And I'm actually going to center it up just a little bit more on the back of the head. So we've got this nice arc kind of happening over the roll here. And notice we've got a little, it's bumped up a little bit right there. So maybe we can either rotate it, kind of bring it in there. There we go. And so now we can take our dog head and kind of extend a neck down. So I'm going to go ahead and save. This is a good space to save. And let's go into edit mode. And notice we've got all of our planes in here. These guys, but we don't want that on the inside of our model. So just select those there and just delete them. Just, X and delete the faces. Now we have an open shell right there. And we can go into 2, just kind of highlight that loop by alt selecting or double clicking on it. Go to our side view and we're just going to extrude this down and maybe even scale on the Z. Turn our proportional editing off and just keep scaling down the Z axis here. Maybe scale on the Z and just kind of start straightening this line up. We'll just do it on the Z and just do S and Z and just keep straightening that line out. And we'll just extrude down to here, maybe go a little bit past our little roll there. So somewhere in there, and we'll do scale and Z. And really just zero that out. So it's nice and flat. And that's looking pretty good. We may have to do some, massaging around it, but I'm pretty happy with that. We've got some nice spacing on the bottom of our object here. We can definitely squeeze that in a little bit. So let's go into our head object, go into edit mode, grab our little points here, maybe just one on the bottom. And I'm just do Control Z to go to the bottom, maybe turn on proportional editing, and just bring those in. We don't want it to overlap, but just right outside of this here. Maybe even do the same thing here. Just bring those in, just so we kind of have an idea of the kind of shape. That's pretty good. And we can even bring in the neck here. Maybe here and here. Just bring those in. And maybe even here. Oh, but we don't want to pinch. See how we can see through right there? You can just lock it to the X and just kind of bring it on in. Just get it nice and snug around that roll there. We don't need too much space. And if we go Control 1, we can see the back. Maybe bring those in. It's looking pretty good. And now we just want to check and make sure all of our spacing is aligned. So we'll do Alt Z. And this here we're going to use for the leash. So that's okay if you have a little bit of a gap. We're going to bring in the leash later. So really you just want, nice 45 degrees on the ears and the head, and then a nice kind of shape around your bag roll. And then now the really fun part is let's add some modifiers to this to kind of make it look a little bit more better. So make sure you're in object mode. And now's a good time to save, but we're going to add some cool modifiers. So we've already got the mirror modifier. That's cool. So there's our mirror. Next, we want to add the multi-res. So we're going to be sculpting this later, so we can go ahead and add some curviness to it. Looky there. It's already looking way much more like Mad Mardigan or a dog there. And we could even just do like 2 or 3, nothing too crazy, maybe 3. And that's going to give us a nice curvy look while we are designing here. And so notice we're not getting a nice clean edge here at the bottom, but that's okay. We're going to address that later. But for really, we just want to make sure we've got a nice kind of dog shape here. We've got kind of a bony head, but we can always adjust this. And that's why I like teaching you guys how to do it with edit mode and the flexible modifiers. So let's go ahead and add another one. I'm going to turn mirror off. So go ahead and turn off your mirror, and we're going to show what the solidify does. You've probably already seen it before, but if not, you can do solidify. And it's actually going to kind of turn this dog head into kind of like an Easter bunny chocolate, or, you know, where it kind of just has the rim like a mask. So it's actually going inward, which is good with the -1. And let's just bring in the thickness maybe to like 1 millimeter. So that is about as thin as we can go for most, you know, like at-home FDM printers. But you can always increase this later down the road if you want. So now that we've got this nice shell, we can turn our object back on, and we've got a really cool look going on here. And so notice we've got a weird kind of artifacting happening on the bottom here, and that's because our mesh is still open. So all you have to do is go back into edit mode, maybe do an edge grab on this guy here, and just hit F to fill that on in. And there, if we go back to object mode, we've got a nice rounded out bottom, but notice that the poop loop, or the poop bag, is hanging out right there. So let's go back into our side view, tab into edit mode, and what we need to do is just kind of maybe just extrude one more time down right there, and just kind of close off that loop. And there we go. Now we've got a nice kind of see-through, but we went a little too far. So maybe go back and do GZ, just maybe right in there. It's a little too close for my comfort right there. So maybe just bring it down just a little bit more. There we go. So we've got a nice little curvature happening to kind of fit that in there. Got some nice spacing right there. And so I'm pretty happy with that. And like I said, we're going to drop this part of the neck down to put in the leash, but that's pretty awesome. So if we go back to object mode, go into solid view and turn off our X-ray, we've got a nice looking dog head here. So if you made it this far, very, very good job. We're going to make this look even cooler over the next few lessons. So let's go ahead and jump into the next lesson, where we're going to create the mouth and kind of put a little thumb hole here.